Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Tribute to Our Heroes. Today's guest is a Marine Corps veteran who has truly given a lot to this country. He's really upheld his duty as an American, as a military member, as a veteran who still continues to give back to his local veteran communities, really taken a lot of the struggles that he's experienced and transformed them into something positive to help inspire others who might be experiencing difficulties, predominantly in veterans who might be experiencing PTSD. He is just an incredible person, very inspirational, and I'm extremely honored to have even talked to him, and I'm very glad that you guys get to meet him now as well. So without further ado, let me welcome Mr. Todd Nicely. Todd, thank you so much for meeting with me. I really do appreciate you taking the time out to meet with me and us here at Soldiers Angels. You know, it's always good to have people that want to interview with us and are willing to share their stories. So, you know, thank you again for that. And thank you for just meeting me. For the people that are maybe watching and that may not really know who you are, go ahead and just give yourself a brief introduction.
I am retired Corporal Todd Nicely. I served in the Marine Corps from 2007 to 11. I did an Iraq deployment and an Afghanistan deployment as an 0311 squad leader in Afghanistan. But pretty humble. I grew up playing football, athlete, all that kind of stuff. And I did construction before I joined the Marine Corps, and the economy started getting bad. So that's when I decided to join. I was gonna actually join in 2002 or 1 before 9/11 happened, but like 3 days before my recruiter came, 9/11 happened. My mom was like, "I'm not signing for you." So I ended up with a girlfriend in the construction field. So that's how I ended up in the Marine Corps, like several years later. But I wanted to test myself, and that's what I did.
You know, obviously, I always tend to ask, what made you want to choose the Marine Corps over any other branch?
Yeah, it was mainly because I was going to join the Army. Like I said before, I had already done the ASVAP. I was going to go in and try for airborne, and because my grandparents were all Army, World War II, and so I was going to do that. But then I decided, you know what? I want to test myself. They say Marine Corps is the hardest, the most challenging. Let's see what you got. Like, can you do this or not?
When you got there, do you feel like that was true?
For me, I was a little bit older. I was 23 at the time, and a lot of the guys were still younger. But I mean, I was jump roping in the middle of the night to try to improve my run score. So I didn't get messed with too much by the drill instructors because most of them were my age. But it was difficult because you failed at everything, and that's the way it's meant to be. But it was frustrating, and it taught you honor and courage and stuff like that, not to break on your fellow man. So yeah, it was difficult to want to strangle a kid, but yeah, that was the hardest part, was trying to, and plus I had a problem with authority. So
I feel like that's a very common thing with a lot of boot camp experiences, not just with Marines, but I would assume that kind of that problem is probably more intensified with the Marine boot camp and how intense it could be and how they get in your face. I was Navy and I felt that kind of too, and I saw that with other people, but I've heard stories of Marine boot camp and how intense it could be. So.
yeah, I had a problem with authority, and it was like, they're spitting in my face and I can't touch my face. So it was hard. It was difficult at times, but the physical aspect for me was pretty easy because I'm
Gotcha.
just a physical type of person. So
Yeah, no,
it was the
definitely.
discipline part that was hard for me.
And I guess when you did finally, I forgot to ask, where are you originally from? Like, where did you join out of?
Um, I I I'm from St. Louis, but I went to MCRD San Diego,
Oh, okay.
and then I did SOI Pendleton, and then they shipped me off to Camp Lejeune. So I got the best of both worlds
You're
there.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So you end up deciding to join the Marine Corps years later,
Mhm.
right afterwards? And you said it was just because the economy was bad, and it's just something
Yeah,
you've always kind
it
of
was
wanted to
around
do.
2000, 2008 when the house
Yeah.
economy started crashing and there was
Hmm.
no work for carpenters in St. Louis area. And I was getting myself in trouble. And I figured if I don't leave here now, I'm either going to end up in jail or dead. So
Mm,
I made a choice.
gotcha. Do you look back on that choice and was like, I made the right choice?
Oh, always. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if I wouldn't have left, like I said, I'd have been in jail or dead. My friends
Mm,
were dying over heroin and it was rampant through where I live and overdosing. And it was just like, I can't be around for this. Like,
no,
I can't. So this was the best decision I ever made, even though it turned out to be one of the probably, I don't want to say worst because I am a quadruple amputee and I got to do a lot of things that I probably never would have got to do if I wasn't in this situation.
mhm.
So it's been a lucky uh curse, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Very optimistic way to look at it, but I guess that's a good thing, and I think that's a admirable thing to do. So yeah, I want to kind of talk about your military experience and kind of go into that. So I know you went through boot camp and all that stuff. I guess talk to me about what happened afterwards and well, the time that you served.
Yeah, fleet time was fleet time was different. You come out of boot camp all straight and narrow and shirt tucked in, and then you get to the fleet and that shit all goes out the window. But yeah, it was different because our guys had just gotten back from immune. None of them had ever done a combat deployment except for a couple of them. And so our training for Iraq was a little different, but Iraq itself, there wasn't much going on at the time. It was 2008. We were up in Rawa, and it was more like guarding the bridge for Motor T to get to Cop Rawa and patrols for the area, a couple IEDs here and there. And that was really it. But when we got back, that's when I got my squad. And that's when things got interesting because I was in charge of training and all that stuff, and I was just a saw gunner on my Iraq appointment, and it was very different going into Afghanistan because we were south of Marja before Marja kicked off. We were basically there to cordon off the area and keep a route clearance clear so no one could get into Marja so they could invade Marja, and it was we actually followed 2-8 who had dropped in behind did the largest Vietnam or did the largest helo drop since Vietnam behind enemy lines, and they took mass casualties, and we ended up deploying like 3 months early.
I guess being there in the moment, what do you remember feeling at all? Were you, yeah, what was that feeling like knowing that these kind of things are happening around you and you were about to go in there?
Well, PBS did that front line on 2-8,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it was shown on TV before we deployed. So I got a lot of my squad to come over and watch it and be like, this is where we're going.
Mm,
So I tried to train them mentally all the time to always be thinking of scenarios. Because if you train your brain for scenarios, just like they train you to react and react to what your scenario is in your head. So I always had them constantly thinking about scenarios and what they would do and all that stuff. I always used to play the war games on the drawing board, and I'd be like, "What would you do? Where would you go?"
gotcha.
Have them thinking constantly. But for me, it was like when that first bullet went past us, I froze and I looked down the line, and then I snapped into it. And I go, "Oh shit, I'm in charge!" And I was like, "Fuck."
Mm.
Sorry for saying the f bomb, but
No, you're good.
um,
Speak
at that
freely.
moment, I knew that if I didn't get up and move, they weren't going to move. So it
Yeah,
was like doing something I didn't want to do, but I knew I had to do.
I could imagine. I mean, that must be scary. How old were you at the time?
I was 23, but all my guys, or I was 25. I was 23 in Iraq, but all my guys were like 18, 19. So,
Yep.
and some of them had kids and were married. And
Mhm.
so
Yeah, that was that.
a lot of the time I went first just for that reason, or I'd use myself as bait because
Mhm.
it's screwed up to think, but at 25, I was thinking I've lived a longer life, so I might as well go first.
Yeah.
And you're only 25 and you're put in charge of people's lives. It's kind of humbling.
Yeah. No, I definitely that was gonna be my next question. Like, were the guys that you were in charge of younger than you? And like, I'm pretty sure they are. And that's yeah, because I mean, a lot of them join right out of high school, and man, they're just dropped
Yeah.
right in the thick of it when things happen like that. So like you said, very humbling. But obviously, you had the characteristic and the mindset of a leader, just trying to help them, get back to each other, and y'all help each other. So that's the
Yeah,
kind of camaraderie
I
that
learned a
builds.
lot from some good leaders, and I learned a
Hmm.
lot from some bad leaders, because you'll find that in any branch. You got your guys that want to do as I say, not as I do. And
Hmm.
then you got your leaders that are like, hey, we're going to do this, but we're going to do it together.
Yep.
And they don't just stand there and watch. They get in the thick of it, and they help and make sure the task gets done. And
Yeah.
that was emulated a lot by a few of my NCOs, and that's was the leader I wanted to be. So when I had my own squad, my guys used to bitch when I would volunteer us for working parties. They'd be like,
Hmm.
why? And I'd be like, because we're going to learn about each other and we're going to do it together.
Very true. No, that's a good, good leadership for sure. What are some of the things you remember of bad leaders you had?
Of the bad leaders,
Yeah.
oh man, just guys sitting back and telling you what to do, or just not even being part of it, just being like,
Mhm.
go. Like one time, I'm not gonna throw any names out there or anything, but there was this guy who was the squad leader, and he was like, "Here, nicely, you run the training," and he just stood back and watched, and I'm like, "I'm not even a squad leader yet, and you're making me run this training." And or guys that would volunteer, like working parties, they would just stand there and watch. It's like, jump
Mhm.
in and help, and we'll get this done faster, or at least
Yep.
supervise. Or they'd sit in the COC all day and not do anything, and not train you or teach
Mhm.
you things about what you need to know. It was like they kept all them secrets to themselves. It was like,
Yeah.
no, you got to like be teaching us 9 lines. You expect us to learn this shit on our own?
Yeah.
So
I feel like
it was
that's
just
part of
stuff
like
like that.
the military experience in general, because I'm sure anybody who's served can think in their mind a leader who either helped you or inspired you or taught you to be better, and then a leader who did exactly that. They just
Yeah,
either
just
kept all
someone
the
who's
secrets to themselves or
constantly
whatever.
yelling at you. It's like, you think I'm listening to you right now? Like you're talking to
Mhm.
me like I'm a dog in a cage. Like that's
Yep.
not going to get through to me.
No,
Talk to me
absolutely.
like I had to find a thin line between being my squad's friend and also being their leader. You have to
Mhm.
have compassion, but you also have to be in charge when it comes time to putting some ass whipping down, so they
Oh,
know.
yeah. Absolutely. Do you still feel like the leadership skills that you learned at the time in the military are still affecting and helping you out today?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like sometimes they bite me in the ass because I sometimes treat my family like they're my squad, but
Mhm.
sometimes they're very helpful. Like I mentor at a program called Focus Marines, and I went through it myself because I was having a hard time with my PTSD and all that
Mhm.
stuff, and it changed my life 180 degrees. So now I mentor out there and help other guys get through it.
Oh, that's incredible. How did you end up getting to the point where to leading to the accident?
Oh, okay. So yeah, March 26th, 2010 was date of injury. Um, Me and my squad, we trained as support squad throughout our whole workup, but somehow managed to be the tip of the spear down in southern Helmand, Afghanistan. So we were the assault squad. We were out from 11 to 4 most of the days, getting shot at, maybe 2 to 3 ticks a day for like 4 months. And so it got tiring. And we were in March, maybe a month or two away from leaving. And second squad had got putting up in a hide to watch over a mine that the higher command had placed in the market that we had taken over with a tracking device on it. And so they couldn't see it. And I wasn't supposed to be out that day. That was my day for rest, our squad's day for rest or whatever. And they asked me to go out and mark it so that way it didn't look suspicious and they wouldn't give up their hide thing. So we went out and found it. And on our way back, we had to cross a bridge. And looking back, hindsight being 2020, I should have known better, but I was tired, I was angry, I was complacent, I guess you could say. But the little shop owner out on the side wasn't there, and he's always out there. and everything was quiet, which is a obvious sign that something's going on. And I stopped my patrol about 100 feet back, 50 feet back, or something like that. And I went up and swept the bridge in front. Well, they had moved from using metal containers stuffed with ammo and all that to using plastic jugs. So I didn't hit anything. And I went to take that step, and my left foot hit the pressure plate. And I remember flying through the air going, oh, fuck, they finally got me. And I landed down by the canal, luckily, which I didn't land in the canal, because if I would have been rushed off. But we didn't have a corpsman with us at the time, so my DMOC Marine was the one pulled me up on the hill, put all the tourniquets on, and like 6 minutes later, there was a helo there because there was one coming back from the mission, I guess, and got me to Camp Dwyer.
Mm. Man, that's so like I can't even imagine that. So thank you for sharing. Obviously, I really appreciate that. But man, do you remember? I mean, I know you kind of said that you were thinking to yourself like, oh, they got me. Did it just happen before you even know it? Did you feel anything like inside or physically?
No, I stepped on it and I felt the blast, like I felt myself flying through the air, a lot of dust.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had felt myself hit the ground, and I felt water splash up on my face. That's when I knew I was down by the canal.
Mm.
And then I felt them dragging me up the hill, and I kind of opened up my eyes and seen some shit. And I remember I was in and out. So I remember screaming a couple times and thinking to myself, don't do that again. Stay
Mm.
the fuck quiet, because this is the last thing your Marines are going to see of you. So I tried to
Wow.
shut up. I don't know if I did or not, but that was the
Mm-hmm.
thought in my head. And I remember my corpsmen, they ran the team from the Hyde ran about 300 meters to get to me because they had a corpsman. I remember him smacking me in the face a couple times, and I was like, Doc Franny, you smack me in the face one more time, I'm gonna punch you in the mouth. And so we laugh about that sometimes because I didn't have
Yeah.
any arms or whatever. But yeah, apparently I was like, I let go as soon as I got on the bird, but I remember thinking to myself, keep breathing. If you're breathing,
Mm-hmm.
you're alive. And that's what I did. I just kept trying to breathe with two collapsed lungs, and they gave me a trach. And
Wow.
I got on the plane on the bird, and they took me to Dwyer, Camp Dwyer. And apparently, I've talked to the nurses and stuff there. I was still awake there because I was blinking and
Mm.
answering their questions, but I don't remember any of it. So they had to operate on me while I was still awake because they couldn't give me morphine, and they had a
Oh,
walking blood bank. They called for anybody A positive to come and give blood. So they were taking it straight from the people and putting it right
mm.
into me.
Oh my goodness. That's a insane. That's all crazy to believe, but it's incredible
Yeah,
nonetheless. What
I'm
about
one
the
of
rest of
five. One of
Yeah.
five to survive these injuries.
Wow. What about the rest of your guys on that day? Did they suffer any kind of casualties?
No, no one else
Mm.
got hit, thank God. And people always ask me, "Would you do it again?" And I say, "Yeah," because none of my guys got hurt, and I know I can handle the brunt of it. But
Mm.
for a while, I didn't. And in 2016, I ended up trying to commit suicide and shot myself in the chest and lived through that. So I was like, "Shit, I'm not supposed to die yet. I got something to
Dang.
live for."
So you're made of steel, man. That's crazy. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I hit my heart valve, and it only works at 15% now, so I'm suffering that consequence. But I try to tell people that I'm a big suicide awareness for veterans type guy,
Mhm.
because I had to wake up and look my family in the face this time because I did it, not because of the enemy, and they weren't happy looking. Like, I could have destroyed many of lives by my single action. And I
Yeah.
don't want to say selfish because it's not selfish. It's just pain and hurt, and at the time you don't realize it. But
Yeah. What do you remember most, I guess, after the accident and you're kind of coming back and I guess you're starting to come to and you start really taking in what happened. I mean, what do you remember then? How did you feel then, if you don't mind me asking, of course?
um so I wake up in the ICU, and I guess the doctors asked me, it was around Easter, and they were like, "What do you want?" And I said, give me a beer. So they ran out and actually got me a 6-pack of Corona because they didn't think I was going to live. I had so many infections and everything else. And so they went out and got me a 6-pack of Corona, and I had a trach in. I wasn't supposed to be drinking anything. And they popped that bottle and gave it to me. I took a drink out of it and I was like, no, no, give me water. Like my mouth was so dry, but like Sergeant Major Kent and the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Conway at the time, came to pin my Purple Heart on me while I still had all my tubes and stuff in because they thought I was going to die. And, you know, I like to think that they did it because they had the time to, and not that I was maybe going to die. But I eventually pulled through, and I just remember the first time I asked them, I told them, I said, I want to talk to my guys. And somehow I don't know how they did it or got the clearance for it, but they got the number to the sat phone that we had that rotated between the squads. And they made sure my squad had it that day. And I got to talk to them and tell them I was going to be okay.
What was their response to hearing that you were like you made it out of that and you're like talking to them?
Oh man, I think that changed their whole attitude because for like maybe 2 weeks, they didn't know if I was alive or dead, you
Hmm.
know, because everything goes to blackout and you get blacked out and can't make calls or anything or find out anything. And the problem was we had lost a guy 7 days in that was one of my best friends and two
Hmm.
other guys' best friends. The four of us were like, you couldn't separate us. And so those two, I think it meant the most to
Hmm.
because they knew that I was still alive and it wasn't just going to be them two. So, and then my guys that had to fill in for squad leader, I had two of them that I trusted. Like they weren't a lot of my squad was not very happy with a lot of the higher command and the way they were acting about what happened. So
Um,
I
are you
think it
still in
meant the
touch?
world to me.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear, and I'm sure it was a sigh of relief for them. Do you still keep in contact with any of them?
Oh, most of them, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
most of them. Some of them disappeared off the map, but every November 22nd, we go up and visit Nick Hand's mom, who
Mm.
unfortunately didn't come back with us on November 22nd, and that's coming up soon. So,
Tell me about your time coming back from that and coming back home, and I don't know, seeing your family again, and just kind of however you want to describe it.
oh yeah, coming back home was at first I was okay with what happened. I was like, all right, another mission. You know, I'm gonna get in these prosthetics and I'm gonna get going and moving, and so I had something to focus on. But once I got out of the hospital, which I did in a year and a half, they told me it was going to be 4 years, 1 year per limb, just to learn how to do everything. I was like, no, that's not happening. So I got out in record time, but then I got home and a foundation tunnels to towers and with the help of Gary Sinise Foundation, built me a home, and I sat in it but with nothing to do. I didn't have a mission anymore. I had like it was starting to sink in that this was real. This was going to be the rest of my life. And I went into a deep depression. Um that's what led to the suicide. I was drinking heavily, self-medicating. You know, I had no purpose anymore. I didn't think I could do anything. I was neglecting my own abilities to do stuff, and other people could see it but I couldn't. And um it took me a while to realize that. So yeah, that was the hard part. Was my PTSD didn't really kick in till like 3 or 4 years later, and it took a program like Focus to change my way of thinking and make me understand why I was thinking or feeling the way I did, and not deal and actually helping me deal with the issues that I was drinking to cover up,
Hmm.
because I never got to grieve the fact that I lost my arms and legs because I went straight into the mission and was trying to make everybody happy and show them I could do it. And I never
Hmm.
got to grieve the loss of my best friend because I had to push on with the mission in Afghanistan and not show my squad that I was hurting and be that Marine. And being that
Hmm.
Marine almost got me killed.
No, understood. And that makes total sense. I mean, it's always when the silence kicks in that everything starts to creep in. So, you hear that all the time, and people that I've
I
talked to, other
mean,
veterans that I've
as
talked to,
as
it
a
all is the same
military
thing.
man, yeah, as a military man, we're taught to put the feelings aside. But asking for help is one of the most courageous things you can do because
Absolutely.
it shows vulnerability and that you're really wanting it.
Yeah.
So, for all that time, I thought asking for help, I'm just going to look like a weak Marine and, I had to be this tough guy. But that's not the case. Like,
Hmm.
I just want people to understand that, any veterans that are
No,
watching or anything like that, because asking for help is probably the best thing you can do in your life. You didn't do it
absolutely.
alone in the military. What makes you think you can do it alone now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was just about to say something in the same lines of that. It's almost like remembering that you were part of a team all over
Mhm.
again for a lot of these veterans that suffer from PTSD.
Yeah, it's just not being ashamed of asking for help. Like, if you're in a spot, people aren't going to shame you. Like, the
Mhm.
military community and all these organizations, they want to help you. So saying I have a drinking problem or I have a drug problem, people are afraid to say that because they're going to be like, people are going to judge me. No, we get it. Like, I understand. Most of them have probably been through it. So that's why they're there where they're at today.
Yep,
And so just don't be ashamed. And if you got a problem, you got to fix it.
absolutely. I know you had mentioned to me a little earlier that you had actually came in contact with Soldiers Angels at some point. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so Soldiers Angels, if I do remember correctly, I was injured in 2010, and I think they started a page on Caring Bridge or something like that, and they were always in and out of the hospital taking care of people and
Mhm.
helping out the wounded. Because in 2010, they were coming in left and right, missing arms, legs, triple amputees, everything. There were so many organizations I can't specifically touch on what they may have done for me, but I know that they were there because I remember the name specifically.
Mhm.
Soldiers Angels. And like I said, I think they started the Caring Bridge site for me where people could donate and
Mhm.
leave notes for me and things like that. And so, I don't know what their mission is now that the war's over. I haven't really checked in, but I
Yeah.
know they're probably still doing great things.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I can fill you in right now. We still help out. We still send out a lot of care packages to deployed, and we honestly a lot of our focus has shifted to assisting veterans that are here on for food insecurities, our food distributions for low income vets and active duty military, and we're opening up food pantries now just to kind of help ease some of the burden of not having to think about where food's coming from sometimes. So that's kind of where our big thing is happening now, but we still send care packages to deployed for Halloween, Christmas, and even Valentine's
You
Day and
know,
stuff like that.
it's it's a great thing that you guys are doing, open up food pantries and stuff, but it's also a shame that we have veterans that are going through this right now. Like,
Mhm.
come on, it's sad.
No, we
And I'm
agree
glad I'm glad
100%.
there's organizations around like you guys to do this type of thing because otherwise these veterans would be homeless on the street. Like,
Mhm.
you go to serve your country and you come back and where's those stickers that say we'll never forget? Well, some people never forget, but a lot have.
Absolutely. No, and that's kind of why we wanted to do it. The food pantries are kind of a newer thing we're doing, but we saw a need and we saw there was a need for this sort of stuff, and we're going to be there to fill it in one way or another. And we've seen them come in the office now here at our headquarters here in San Antonio. We also got one in Detroit and in Charlotte, and nothing but good positive feedback from the veterans receiving nothing but gratitude. And for us it's all about giving back to them, so we're happy we
Yeah.
can make that difference for even just a small group in the area, and we want to obviously make that more and more. So
Well,
we do what we can.
any way I can help, I will gladly do that because watching veterans on the street and veterans struggle is to me the veterans got to help veterans, and that's all there
Absolutely.
is to it. Like, we're the only ones that know what we've been through. We're the only ones that know what we may have been through, but we understand each other. We have a different language that most people don't speak or understand.
Hmm.
And so when you're talking with another vet, you kind of get uplifted a little bit. You're like, all
No, I
right, yeah,
know.
you served too. Doesn't matter what you did. Let's talk about it. Let's fuck with
Absolutely.
each other for
No.
a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like I noticed that it's either a little smack talk, some playful banter, and then we'll be on. We'll be good. We'll be friends after that. So
Yeah,
it's always
yeah.
good.
It's like, oh, what, you were in the Navy? Thanks for giving me a ride.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I
You know?
usually always hear.
Yeah.
And, I know my aunt, she was in the Marines too, and every Marine's birthday, I'm like, "Happy birthday from your dad, the Navy." And she's always like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
always
Get
say,
out of
guess
here."
what? The women's department of the Navy.
Yeah. So, but no, it really is a community and a family that you stay in even afterwards. And I think that's one thing I like about working here so much is that we really understand that and we try to keep that alive with a lot of our events and, while helping out what we can. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to know that even back then, while you were recovering, that the mission that we do here was still as strong then as it is now. So that makes me
Yeah, that
happy.
was 2010. So that was like going on almost 16 years ago. So I don't
Hmm.
even know how long they were doing it before I got injured. So it's
Yeah,
been
no,
around for a while.
yeah, we've been for a good minute. Our core mission's still there, so it's good to know. So yeah, so you're kind of recovering, and obviously yeah, you moved into your house, and you kind of settled down. You have time to start really thinking about everything that happened. How did you, I guess, find a way and manage to come out of that? Because that was a very big traumatic thing that you were in, and so nobody blames you for feeling what you were feeling and experience all those things. So yeah, how did you find a way out?
Well, like I said, most of it started in 2019. Like I was pretending to be okay for 9 years. And, I'd have my ups and downs and was abusing my medication and stuff. And then 2019, I went through Focus Marines.
Hmm.
And it was a program that was a week long that kind of, it's almost like what they should give you before you leave the military. Like it just changed the way I thought about everything, the way I looked at things, the way I analyzed stuff. It just made me a better person. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still not perfect. I mean, I'm still working on this stuff every day, but uh, it 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 started the process. And so that process has brought me to where I'm at today, which has led to a book coming out November 11th, um, called Your
Mm.
Choices Change Lives, which I had tattooed on my back before I left for Afghanistan.
Oh
But little
wow.
did I know how
Mhm.
much that slogan on my back was going to impact my whole life
Yeah.
from when I joined the military till after. Because all the choices I was making while I was medicated and all that stuff was pushing my family further away and all my friends. And like I found myself alone almost at one point, and I only had a very few select people that would even talk to me. So being able to repair those relationships and showing people that I changed, because people aren't just going to believe you changed overnight. You got to show them improvement, and earning their trust back was very hard and difficult, but I'm glad that I took the time to do it and do it in a healthy manner.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I love to hear these kind of things. It's hard, and it's unfortunate that there's always going to be some veterans that just you can't help them, and it's a very sad reality. And we try our best in any way, shape, or form. But so these kind of messages, I love to push because there's some veteran out there who's probably dealing with it now. And
Yeah,
they
and
probably
that's
feel you.
why I continue to go back to focus Marines, because, like I said, I lost all four limbs, and so
Mhm.
just even my presence, whether I say a word or not, kind of makes these Marines and soldiers and sailors go, "What am I complaining about?"
Mhm.
I hate saying that, but I didn't want to be that guy. But I figured if I can show them that I'm gonna get up and go try it and do it myself,
Mhm.
what's there to complain about? You're alive. You could be 6 feet under. Every
Absolutely.
day is a blessing because you never know.
Absolutely, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And they always say that like, what's it's like the guy that's the best king is always the person who never wanted to be king. You know what I mean? It's always like
Yeah.
you never know who's the fit best for the job. But man, I mean, you've shown your resilience through the accident, through overcoming this stuff. So man, in a way, you are the perfect person to show these other Marines and other veterans that you're not alone. I see you, and look, we're both here. We got this. So, thank you for what you do, man. because you're giving back to our veteran community just as much as we are in your own way. So yeah, so and
Yeah,
we're
like I said,
united
I
in that
never
effort.
wanted to have to be that guy, but it smacked me in my face when I was going
Mhm.
through the class myself because I seen the way my participants were reacting with me. I
Mhm.
thought, well, this is where I gotta be
Yeah.
because so I've been going there since 2019.
Wow. You're still going there now, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
talk on Tuesdays. I give a little speech, and it's kind of, it's just to let them know, hey, man, don't give up
Mhm.
because once you give up, you're letting go of who you are when you give up. Like you don't always got to be the Marine or the soldier or the sailor,
Mhm.
but if you want to better your life, start improvement in one area first before you try working on everything. Because like for me, when I came back, it was work on being a better fiance first and then be
Mhm.
that. And then once you get kind of good at that or have improved, move on to the next thing and try that. So you're not overwhelming yourself and just give up. Because once you make
Absolutely.
that pile too high, you're going to go, I can't do any of this. It's too high, too much. And you're just going to give up again.
Yeah. That's a great message. Profound and very, very true. I feel like a lot of people need to probably take that in, probably myself too, in some ways or another. Um, let's
None of
get
us are
into your book.
perfect, man. None of us
Yeah,
are perfect.
absolutely. So yeah, so I want to get back to your book that you have coming up, and it's going to come out on Veterans Day of this year. Go ahead and let us know a little bit more about that and what to expect for the people who get it.
Yeah, so you can find it on Amazon. I'll be putting out a link on November 11th. But it's kind of what we've been talking about here. It's my life story from as a child growing up as a middle child of six kids and playing football and what my construction life, what led me to the Marine Corps. Then after the Marine Corps, Afghanistan, Iraq, kind of, therapy and all the things we've kind of been talking about here, but more in depth.
Gotcha. How long did it take you to write the book, man?
I technically, I don't know if I can say that or not, but didn't really write it myself. I did
Oh,
like
okay.
84 hours of interviews and
Mm.
someone else put it in a program, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I had to go through and edit it though, because it was like, I sat there in my Segway at the Jefferson Barracks Memorial with the frosted tombstone. And I was like, I don't sound like that. Change that shit. So we had to change a lot of it.
That's
But
funny.
I also do honor guard for the Marine Corps League now. So that's like a full circle thing for me too.
Mm.
Because I joined because of Saving Private Ryan and
Mhm.
what being able to be there for ceremonially putting these guys to rest is a big thing. But yeah, the book talks all about that stuff and what I'm doing now, things like that.
Nice. And I'm sure it's gonna probably sell very well. I'm very interested about it, so that's awesome. I'm glad to hear you finally got to the point where you can comfortably tell your story. And I'm sure it's gonna do awesome, man. What do you have any? Do you have any future plans in mind, or is right now it's just focus on the book?
Future plan. Well, that's what the book's kind of for, is getting my foot in the door to be able to do motivational speaking for veteran communities and other communities as well. I mean, it talks about leadership and other stuff like that, but I struggled with being in the public for a long time. Like when I first got blown up, I was only the second quadruple amputee. So it took me a long time to get out of the spotlight. So now I'm
Hmm.
going to be back in it again, which I think I'm more well equipped to handle it. But that's my fear. But hopefully it'll get me into a spot where I can help more veterans in a larger scale than I am now.
Yeah, no, hopefully. I really don't doubt that you will for sure find the way. I mean, the way you're doing things and the way you're moving, I wouldn't be surprised if by this time next year, you're doing just that. So that's awesome to hear, man. Do you have like do you post a lot like on social media or anything like that?
I do. I post. I work at a haunted house right now, so there's a lot of that stuff out there. Uh, I take my arms and legs off and bloody everything up and jump out at them when
What?
they don't know if I'm real or not.
Hold on, I gotta ask. What are some of the craziest reactions you've had to people
Oh
seeing you?
man, people pee themselves. They get animated where they're like, or they fall backwards or get stuck in a corner. Like I watched one kid bounce off the wall and then run out the door. It's like because they don't know.
Oh,
I'm wearing white contacts. They can't even see my eyes or anything like that.
oh
So
my gosh. I would
yeah,
imagine that's quite
I'm
startling.
just all covered in blood. And I lay there and they're wondering how they're like, he's got most of the time they don't even notice I'm missing my arms. They only say, he's got no legs, and they run. So it's I've been doing that for about 4 or 5 years now. So that's fun. That's a hobby. But I try to keep myself busy.
Hmm. No, for sure. You got to do something.
I
I always
just
feel.
recently this summer learned how to kayak. They made a paddle for me to use, and
Oh wow,
so I've been kayaking quite a bit and on the river.
nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Good to do stuff and try new things, right?
Well,
It's always
like I
hard for
used to be
everybody.
an adventurous guy, and you'll read a lot about that in the book. Like I was a cliff jumper, and I was doing backflips off of roofs, and so I had to find new things to interest me.
Absolutely. What are your socials at? Do you know?
My TikTok is at no limbs 0311. Facebook is you can find me at Todd Nicely Wounded Warrior, or I use this as my personal one, but it's not going to happen anymore now that the book comes out. I actually go by Austin Fox because for a
Mhm.
while I had to change my name because the overwhelming amount of shit hitting my inbox.
Yeah.
But and also Instagram, you can find me at Todd Nicely.
Okay. Well, we'll link those below for sure in the video. And anybody watching, by all means, give Todd here a follow, see his story unfold and grow. And it's awesome to support you, man. And
Yeah,
if
my
you ever
TikToks are something else.
give Todd
Like
a
one of
follow.
them, one of them, my son came home from school and I surprised him. He was singing the song "Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes," and I was sitting in my wheelchair and I looked at him and I said, "Head, shoulders, no more song." He goes, "No, Daddy, it's knees and toes." I said, "No, for me, it's no more song."
Oh, that sounds funny. Yeah. All right. Cool. So yeah, we'll put those in the description. And if you're ever in San Antonio, Texas, man, stop by and give us a visit. Even if it's just to say hello, there's no doubt in my mind that the staff would love to be able to just talk to you for a minute or
Yeah.
anything like that. So
No, yeah. If there's
absolutely.
anything I can do for you guys, email me, hit me up, let me know. I'm all about it. Like I love helping organizations that I believe in. Trust me, because I've been burned by a lot of them, but there's only a select few that I'll do this stuff for. Like I look at their missions and their taxes and all that shit before I do anything, because there's a
Mhm,
lot of them out there that all they do is take you on a fishing trip and then they send you on your way and you
mhm,
never hear from them again and they put their money in their pocket. So
mhm.
it's these type of organizations that I like talking to and representing.
Oh man, I appreciate that a lot, man. Thank you so much. And I think that'll just wrap it up, man. So
Oh
Todd,
yeah,
man, I
let's say
really
happy birthday to the Marines. 250 this year.
yeah. Happy birthday to them. Happy belated birthday to the Navy on my
Oh
end. Just
yeah,
I gotta
they
throw it
can
in
go
there.
sink a ship somewhere. They can go sink a ship somewhere.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, Todd, man, for your time, man. I really do appreciate it. Go buy Todd's book, follow him on socials, give him all the support. You got ours. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next time, may no soldier go unloved. Thanks, guys.
High nub.